Now, I know what you're probably thinking. This guy's title says he's going to find me some magic bunch of altcoins that are going to get me a 100x. And that's wrong, but I completely understand you thinking like that because, well, you really should be. There is no easy way you can find an individual altcoin that can get you a 100x as easy as the title might make it sound to be. The chances that you find that small little coin is almost zero, but if you do, you're likely to drop $10 into a small meme coin and then end up making $1,000 out of it. And for most of us, that really isn't that big of a deal, okay? And so with that said, I'm not going to look at individual coins today. I'm going to show you new promising altcoins for this bull run that will be launching that you can leverage in a particular strategy to actually net you that 100x. Because if you think about it, at least personally from the last cycle, what I would always find was these new promising altcoins would pop out and friends and influencers would make a quick 2, 5, maybe even 10x. And I just thought if I had invested $1,000, made 10 grand back, put the 10 grand back into my main portfolio, and then just 10x that new capital I didn't have before, that's the 100x, turning 1,000 into 100,000. Now, you don't have to 100x, you can maybe 20x, 30x, 40x, whatever it may be. You can make substantially more multiples if you pay attention to the strategy and look at the coins I will show you today. So with that said, guys, do not forget, if you enjoy the content and you learn something new and want to support my work, you can do so by dropping a like, really helps out a lot, and also subscribe so importantly, you can achieve your crypto goals. Now, there is one big important thing I need to mention to you before we actually begin talking about this strategy, and that is big and small bags. If you don't already know, your big bags are basically the coins that you want to hold for the long term to make the most amount of money on, okay? So it's the ones you've likely been buying for the most part. When you think of your portfolio and you think of the main tokens you want to buy, chances are it's the big bags, right? The ones that you don't want to be hit with any extra charges or tax on so that you're pretty well making as much money as possible. Now, the small bags is the money basically you kind of might consider your cash or stable coins right now, in that you can buy things, trade with, maybe even do degen stuff like a reinvest strategy, whatever you might want to do in the bull run. You're not really concerned with being hit with more tax, if you will, okay? But you want to leverage the small bags to put back into the big bags. And again, we're going to leverage the small bags in this video to pretty well fill up the bigger bags. And I can't stress enough how much it annoyed me in the last cycle not having a little bit of extra cash, aka the small bags, to be able to do things like I will mention to you today. Because as I said, I had to just sit back on the sidelines and watch friends or influencers say, hey, I made a quick 3, 4, 10x, and now I'm going to buy 1,000 Solana tokens, and then you make all this more money. It was just so annoying and frustrating. So hopefully you can take more than just this strategy and the altcoins I'm going to share with you. There's about 4 of these coins that I'm going to really leverage in my personal strategy today, and just kind of take this as a whole and kind of pick the holes in it and figure out how you can leverage it for your own circumstances. Now, these 4 altcoins aren't just any 4 old altcoins. They're not just going to be good buys. Even if it hits the open market, you don't have to get in the ICO rounds and get the multiples back, but also ones that you can leverage. 2 very important things that I just don't see enough people talking about. I've been a massive proponent of these 2 things for the longest time now, and I just don't feel people listen to me, and they will regret it. I'll get to that momentarily. So let's begin here. Now, what you're looking at is not the coins I'm going to share with you. These are all existing coins. Nothing's new here. But what I'm trying to kind of give you an idea on is that there's always going to be a new opportunity on the horizon in the bull market, and it may be even bigger and more prosperous than your interpretation of the best project you currently hold. You might look for a 10x, and you might get lucky and find you 20x is one of these coins, and then throw the 20x back into your main portfolio, for example, your big bags, right? So, this is the hypothetical bull run in green here. And again, there's always going to be new tokens launching at a given time throughout the whole entire bull cycle, which means that, as you can see in blue here, you will always be able to get in and make a quick buck. Get in, maybe hold it for 6 months, and then get out at a certain point. Maybe you might even accumulate, let's just say, for example, 3 coins in that period of time. There will be a point, likely, depending on when you buy, and it is important that you don't buy too late, that you will have exposure to the appreciation of the project, right? Taking a 10K portfolio, You might make 5K or a couple of K, for example, in this particular sell over here, drop it into your main bag. You've got more money here, maybe you have no point to actually be able to sell at a decent profit on these 3 coins you pick up here. Again, all hypothetical in this case, but likely will happen to some degree. And then you can make that big sell over here and then turn 15K into 37K and then so on and so forth, right? So basically what I'm sort of saying here is you want to fill your main bags up, right? That's the whole intention, is to compound your main bags and put the money back in there into the coins that will achieve the multiples, especially, of course, if they haven't hit your targets yet. Now, you might only 2x from the position you buy in at with the compounded money to your actual sell level in your main bags, but that's still 2xing a whole bunch of new money you didn't have before, okay? And the way I can kind of picture this, especially if you're a health freak, it's like biohacking, but for financial markets, right? That should be but, okay? So that's the way you think of it. We're in crypto, okay? Take advantage of the utility crypto as a whole brings. You can't do this in traditional markets, okay? So again, we're pretty well 4xing from the starting point over here. It's hypothetical, I know, but that situation is most definitely realistic. And as I'll show you in a minute here, if you're worried about having the time on your hands to do this, you really do not have to, okay? So that might mean for someone with a portfolio size of 100K turning into 400K, all right? And that's, of course, with the end goal of being 100K. You might have started back here at 10K, for example, or someone starting over at 100K trying to, make $1 million. You could likely 4x that million on the end of, at the end of the cycle to be 4 million. Okay, I'm not trying to, be some sort of hype boy for the market and be some guy who's trying to sit here and say, hey, you can make more money, watch my videos. I don't even understand that philosophy. Like, I get it. You definitely want to be critical of the people you're absorbing the information from, and I'm by no means a qualified expert, but I'm here telling you I've spent a lot of, hours in this market. I've seen what has happened in the previous cycle, and it is difficult to understand this sort of gains coming from a traditional sense or coming from the real world where you're lucky to get a 4% interest on whatever it may be, right? Your cash in the bank, for example. So there's always a chance to benefit from new coins launching either in a macro growth, right? If the whole sentiment's going up like right now, it might appreciate maybe 20, 30%. Make it quick, 20, 30%. Or with a big blow-off top narrative pump, you might be able to get those 10x gains. So one of the key principles in the coins I'm going to show you momentarily is the fact that you can ideally stake them. Now, none of this is confirmed because these are all new coins, right? These are new coins that you can pick up along the bull run here that are planning to launch over the next 12 or so months. But if you can, always stake. And I think this is an important measure I'm going to mention in this video because there's 2 sides. Actually, there's technically 3 sides or outcomes for when you decide to stake. Now, this might be important for someone that doesn't want to buy any of these 3 coins maybe and wants to maybe go into an existing coin like Flux. That's a low market cap that you can stake for a few different things, okay? The beautiful thing about this is that anyone can do it at any skill level, right from someone first day in crypto to experienced like myself, okay? Not time consuming at all. You can be someone who works 100 hours a week, if that's even a realistic thing, and yet you'll still be able to do this and requires little monitoring. That kind of works hand in hand, okay? So number one, I'm going to be quick here because the main premise is to show you some of these coins, is gaining tokens. So when you stake, there's 2 things that mainly happen. And the first is you obviously get tokens back, right? There's a big fallacy in crypto, and you might be, especially if you're new, thinking like this, that there's token inflation. And I've recently, only come out of this myself. So this is a long-term ideology, okay? This is something that's taken me many years to get my head around. But when people say there's inflation in cryptocurrency, yes, it is important to identify that and maybe forecast what it might be like with the inflation numbers. But actually, inflation doesn't really exist in crypto. Everything is basically priced in from the get-go. It's only realized in terms of the price when people actually sell, right? Inflation gets given to a certain people called nodes or validators. It's only when those people with those tokens sell on the open market will the realization of inflation actually occur, okay, on the price. Otherwise, it's fake. Same going with the unlocked or vesting tokens. So it's imperative that you stake because you're just getting so much extra money. You can forget about fighting inflation, for example, right? So the first thing here is reducing your average sell level, which pretty much means that you can be safer in the market, right? So pretty much you just simply might have 1,000 Manta tokens, right? You might have 40% APY, okay, and you stake and you get the extra 400 tokens over a year. that pretty well means that you can, instead of selling at $99 to achieve your goal of $100,000 in Manta, all right, you can actually sell at $70, which is substantially cheaper, and still achieve your goal of $100,000. That's why it's safer. Obviously, the lower you sell, the more safer it is, and that pretty much comes down to reducing your sell levels. Very, very simple, right? So rather than looking for a 45x to achieve the 100K, if you simply have more tokens, you can look for a 32x. This is a recent principle I started applying to my own portfolio because before now, I wasn't accounting for my dollar cost average money. And so that kind of looks like this, okay? So your $99 expectation, you can actually be 22% cheaper or sell cheaper and be 22% safer by selling at a lower level. You still reach the same revenue, just simply staking for 1 year. That's all it is. And yes, you can stake Manta for 40% APY, mind you, okay? The second over here is giving you more returns. So if you want to sell at the same level of $99, okay, you definitely want to sell up here still. It's just simple, right? We just work out what an extra 400 tokens will net you at the price of $99. And I've kind of worked this out at $2.20 a token, by the way. That's why that green number's there. And so that'll get you an extra $39,000. Just insane, okay? So you're still 45x, right? You got more tokens, but you just make more revenue, which pretty much means you just, in the period of 12, 15, whatever, how long the bull run's going to be, whenever you decide to sell, you've just made 4x your initial investment. Now, I get it. What's this got to do with anything? Well, you actually pair this with the coins I'm going to tell you in a moment, and you can make so much more money that 100x overall is very realistic. People just don't, again, leverage crypto for what it is. The second thing is, very quickly, airdrops. This kid over here, 17 years old, made $1 million in a recent airdrop. You don't really make the big money in the Bitcoin airdrops. You make money, you can make maybe $1,000, $10,000, which is great, and then pull that back in and, of course, throw that out of the big bags, and then 10x the big bags. But this kid literally made $1 million by just simply being more active. Now, I don't expect you all to do this because, as I said, you don't really want to if you are someone that doesn't want to be monitoring this all day, or you're a very busy person. So what you can do is just stake the token, like with Manta, receive the 40% APY, plus Manta has the high chance of pretty much having its ecosystem projects airdropping free tokens to you. So with myself, for example, this happened to me recently with Solana. I got airdropped cat with hat. I'm not even too sure what that even is, right? And it's a meme coin. I got a free 10 million tokens because I participated in part of its ecosystem, okay? Now, it's not just, of course, Manta. As I said, Pyth as well, There's never really an official, hey, we're doing airdrops, but there is kind of like a secret code that they kind of use, right? So Manta over here uses the very key words on a recent Twitter post, which is why it is important you, again, do 10 minutes of research per project per day. Otherwise, you would have missed this. They say to recognize you as a contributor. So go ahead and bind, so stake, to then be recognized as a contributor for not just Manta, but including the ecosystem projects, which is about 150 different projects. So when these new projects launch, they'll probably do something with Manta that'll give people who decide to stake Manta, or in the case of Pyth, stake their tokens not for rewards, in the case of Manta, yes, as well, but in governance, it all depends, to, of course, then, okay, well, these people are, helping the network or the ecosystem grow, therefore we want to reward them. That's how it goes. And that's the little secret sauce of a lot of these crypto projects, is they get people in the hopes that they're going to receive more rewards. It's part of the little mind games they use to grow their network. So yes, there's these two, technically, again, 3 different ways in which we can make extra money, but we're going to be focusing some new tokens today to follow this compounding effect. But let me please reiterate, if you are someone really wanting to maximize your gains, which I guess is really the whole premise of this video, stake and learn what the benefits are of your network. Manta has both, Pyth has one, but it's all going to benefit you in the end. And I just want to say as well, for everyone saying how staking can be very dangerous, yes, please, when you decide to stake, do your research. And when you do, always stake directly via the network. It may be more complicated to get your head around, but once you master it, it's going to benefit you greatly. The more intermediaries you pass through, third-party providers, whether it's a staking provider or whether it's an exchange offering some sort of APY to stake with them, or a smart contract, they're all extra layers of risk. If you go directly to the source, you minimize that completely. So project 1 is EigenLayer. Now, I've got 4, but I've decided to add 2 more bonus ones on the end, and I'm going to have to be quite quick. As you can tell, the video is already about 15 minutes long. But the main reason why I want to be quick here is that if you can understand what I just explained to you, that entire process, and your mind is already looking for mini deals, these small bags to then compound back into the big bag, as long as you're buying somewhat decent coins, at least with mimetic and growth potential, it doesn't really matter. Now, I'm going to say it right now, every single coin on this list, mark my words, is a quality project. Don't mistake my, being quick here for the indication of the quality of the project. Now, mind you, I'm going to be quick in my standards. Traditionally, at least in the market standards, it's going to be a good video still. But if you guys want to learn more, according to what I believe is a good review of a project, I've made either full reviews like an Eigenlayer before, or I've made, quick 5-6 minute segment, videos on things like the next few coins as well. And I'll leave all the links down below. So if you did want to do more research, then of course you'll be able to find more down there. So Eigenlayer introduces a whole new aspect of crypto that we haven't really seen before. And it's really the reason why we've seen a massive proliferation of layer 2s in the space. Massive layer 2 narrative. Eigenlayer helps support that because it offers layer 2s basically a new way to scale, right? To stop the massive bootstrap process that, typically is required in creating a blockchain network. And that is leveraging Ethereum in a way you really haven't seen before, okay? Basically getting all of the money thrown into Ethereum, all the people staking, whether staking directly as their own validator, or they're going indirectly through a liquid staking provider, Swell over here, Lido, and it gets all that ETH and all that money staked into Ethereum and says, hang on, this is just kind of being sat there and used. Why don't we restake it, right? So if you hear the term liquid restaked or restaked token, it's pretty well coming through Eigenlayer at this point. And it says, hang on a second, why don't we pull it all together, right? In this fake example, let's pretend we add all this hypothetical total of Ethereum stake up, which might come to 149.6 ETH, and I've done the math, right? And we're going to take that and pretty much let these new blockchains or these new solutions in the layer 2 area use it for their own security. We're taking Ethereum security and we're giving it to other projects. And there is a way in which I can explain this, and I have in much more detail on the link I'll leave down below. And you can kind of take this and again, secure some of these new promising projects, right? Over here, Espresso. We have Hyperlane and, of course, Mantle, and they use these in different ways, right? Decentralized validators, or, for layer 2s, they're called sequences, basically the things that validate the network. Hyperlane uses it for insurance, for interoperability and custom consensus, right? So interchain connections. Mantle over here uses it, again, for their own sort of data availability, basically part of the consensus as well. The thing is, Eigenlayer leverages what I was just explaining to you moments ago, because it's going to be another situation where if you hold any Eigenlayer tokens, and you will be able to likely stake them, there is going to be airdrops happening for these new promising projects. So for example, you can currently restake, well, you can have the ability to. I've gone ahead and done it. As you can see, I've got about 3,000 points, but it's currently being paused. So you can't. I made a video on that a while back, and when it was available, it may open up again before it launches. Either way, I'm going to have, some of these Eigenlayer points or these Eigenlayer, crypto tokens airdrop to me initially, but you guys might have to buy on the open market, which is fine. If you buy it early enough, you will be able to benefit. And again, mark my words, it's going to be a massive, massive part of crypto. I would almost compare it to Cosmos, but for Ethereum, basically, at least in the sense of the airdrops. Now, Ather is a new project, and actually part of the VC, we're looking to bring our community Ather in the early investment rounds. Now, it is looking to launch this year, as we can see here. Being in this early is one thing, sure, getting in at the cheap prices, but again, if you can even buy on the open market, I mean, this project is a direct competitor to the likes of Render, except these guys are taking a different route, end up at a very similar point, because these guys are focused on enterprise adoption first. Now, the reason it separates itself is one, it's actually focused on gaming and AI. It's a deep-end project, right? So it allows the infrastructure to be built on top of it. It allows process things, on this global computer, if you will, but they focus on adopting a chip on an enterprise level called the H100. Now, this chip is strictly for extremely fast AI large language models, which you don't find in projects like Render, for example. And again, this pretty much means that they can't take the route Render has, being extremely decentralized to begin with, but the route they're taking will eventually become decentralized. They're just building it like this to allow for these enterprises to begin using the network. Everyone wants to move away from the likes of Amazon Web Service, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, because they're very centralized. Great narratives, deep in gaming and AI. I don't think you could have a better mix. And no, they're not some run-of-the-mill project. These guys have been building way back since 2021. Now we have a project called ZK Link. Actually, this one just went through its ICO round over here on CoinList, and they were selling for 15 cents a token. I didn't manage to get in. Now, the purchase limits were very, very small. The max price anyone from the community could have got in was $500 a pop. So we're not talking about, whales being made right here, but it's important to keep a note of, because as the project launches, depending on the price it goes to, you can almost expect a little bit of a sell-off. Now, what does this do? Well, I'm super bullish on this. Basically, it is essentially a layer 2 for Ethereum, right? It leverages a sort of like modularity design that has been really proliferating recently, right? We're seeing over here breaking apart. It actually allows a layer 3 to be built on it, leveraging different parts. As you can see, Espresso, like I just mentioned before, is mentioned here, different parts of different networks to create a Frankenstein project as they so wish in a very easy way. But what I like the most about these guys is they leverage zero-knowledge proofs to be able to have two really interesting things. The first is account abstraction, which means that you can have one account that connects to all the different layer 2 networks and any sort of network built and connected to the ZK Link, which I don't know if you guys can see down here, actually is quite a lot. But also they're going to be unifying liquidity, which is something I've been waiting for a long time. I made an investment back in 2021 in a project called Clover Finance that was promising this, never ended up happening. Huge, huge, huge for the industry. Essentially what they're trying to say is, if you have Ethereum on the Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum on Near Protocol and Ethereum on Ethereum, right, True ETH, and if it's connected all through ZK Link, basically it shows up as one asset. It doesn't register that they are from different networks on the back end, obviously, but that allows you to do a few different things. Of course, it enables the unification of liquidity, which means slippage and all of these fragmented liquidity pools are going to be no longer, and it allows things again like, less fees and all that sort of great stuff that comes along with it. So next is Hyperlane, and actually, again, Hyperlane was one of the ones mentioned before when I was talking about Eigenlayer, and these guys, again, leverage that to enable permissionless interoperability. Interoperability is not permissionless, right? Interoperability requires bridges and only a couple nodes between each side of the bridges, which means that it's very centralized and things can go wrong very quickly if one of those nodes are taken down. Basically, long story short, they allow anyone to instantly be able to hook into Hyperlane to connect with any layer 1 or layer 2 on Ethereum. It's very open and fair. Anyone can leverage it, and it enables cross-chain insurance. So what that means is that because of Eigenlayer, they pretty much say that if you do a transaction across one of their bridges and something goes wrong, you can get your money back. They also do have something pretty unique to this project called Sovereign Consensus, allowing developers to configure their own security model for each communication channel. So if you're someone leveraging, as a developer, for example, it on Cardano, you can have individual bridges and individual custom settings per connection to different networks that can enable different things to happen. It can connect to most of the virtual machines that are mainstream out there, and you can even build applications on top of it. From what I've heard, people will likely have access to it as an airdrop if they do stake their Celestia. And the two bonus ones I will touch on very quickly here because I haven't done a deep dive review on them, but I will be very soon because I want to get into both these projects. So Monad is basically kind of a rough competitor, if you will, to Manta Network in the most loose way possible, just because Manta has a layer 1 sidechain, if you will. Either way, these guys are an EVM a performance chain, right? They're looking to be like a side of Ethereum. Not a layer 2, though. They're not going to be like a layer 2 actually leveraging Ethereum for settlement. They're their own layer 1, but they're kind of connected to Ethereum as what's called a side chain, okay? So pretty well just making transactions faster, but also leveraging Ethereum and, being extremely interconnected. Basically just Ethereum if it was still how Ethereum was meant to be. And number 2, we have Mode. Mode is a layer 2 on Ethereum. You can see a big narrative, of course, here, but these guys are kind of like the injective of Ethereum. The modular DeFi layer 2 is what they're kind of being proposed at, right? Pretty well just making sure that they can bring DeFi on a whole new scale to Ethereum, okay? Again, just like sort of injective did for the whole space, particularly the Cosmos ecosystem, of course. Now, they are doing an airdrop, okay? They are doing an airdrop, at least right now. Some of these projects, of course, aren't. And I will leave my referral link down below if you do want to participate and, of course, help support me. And there is a few things you can do to boost your rewards, okay? It's just, at the end of the day, extra money, and likely, depending on what builds on it, there could even be some airdrops in the future as well. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed. And if you have made it this far especially, drop a like, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.